Wukong, but we still have the Annie up and available for FPX. Care playing that utility role, enabling either Xioalaohu or LWX to step up as that carry, but that does mean the Aphelios is going to be left up and open for LP. And we see that this Aphelios champion is becoming quite the problem, where I feel like there's no other ADC that's going to be able to match his presence from early to late game. Like, this champion's just a very overall good, has a good kit, and especially when it comes to those item spikes, I feel like 2 items pretty much does it for Aphelios, when the traditional ADC like the Jinx and the Zeri needs to have those 3.
I think that's the big difference, right, between now and MSI, because at MSI, Jinx really was the answer, and I feel like Jinx was the stronger of the 2. But with the new items since MSI, Aphelios comes online a lot earlier, and Jinx often, the game's ended before Jinx kind of becomes the carry that you need her to be. We are going to have fairly standard rotations here, though, as the Ahri to answer the Annie. Very standard mid lane. The Xayah Rakan going to come on through. LP going to have that Aphelios. And Wei grabs himself the Wukong in the jungle that we talked about before already. So we'll see what jungler is going to be banned away. Karzik's taken off the board. Vi already banned. Maokai already banned. We are starting to get through that pool a little bit. Perhaps Poppy, Sejuani, Nocturne, these kind of picks that not necessarily seen from Hacker specifically. I mean, Hacker's even played Lee Sin, he's played the Xin Zhao. I feel like there's a lot. And in fact, they decide to go for a top lane ban instead.
Yeah, RNG saving that counter position for Breathe, I'm assuming, in that top lane 1v1, because Xioalaohu, he's forced to blind pick, so hopefully he's not going to fall into the traps of either the Sion or the Gragas getting locked in blind, because like you said, Breathe does have that sneaky Fiora up his sleeve. But my question is what is Hacker going to pick for this jungle position? Because I feel like he sees the most success when he's given setup, which is within the Vi and the Wukong. But this time, those champions have been taken off the board, and we need something that can close the distance to allow QuiQiu to get his hands onto the carries and have a bit of mobility.
Nocturne, we mentioned, could be a lock-in here. We need a jungler and a top laner from FPX, and the Nocturne will be locked in. So Hacker having a bit of carry potential behind him. What are they willing to blind pick in the top side? That Fiora could come out if Sion is locked in. I don't know if you fancy it against the Gragas, but you don't need to. There's the Sion. Is there? What's Breathe willing to pick? Could just go for a tank matchup. We've seen Breathe play plenty of tanks this split, and it will be the Ornn that's locked in the end. Just to add to the scaling of this Aphelios, we talked about basically this composition earlier on today for Top Esports, where it is all about the Aphelios. On the other side, though, FPX, they've got a very different style of composition.
Yeah, FPX locking in the Nocturne, so the pressure is on for Hacker in this game 1 to get his fingers onto the carries of RNG and really close out the lights to allow QuiQiu to also close the gap between him and the enemy team. But my biggest question is going to be Care on this Annie, because we've seen him play this champion multiple times, but sometimes not utilizing the amount of potential that you can find in those side lanes. This Annie champion kind of falls flat, especially sometimes burning that flash and not having that flash available. You will just get slowly picked apart by RNG, and this time around the Ahri and the Wukong getting locked in for Wei and Tangyuan, something that they're very comfortable on. So this is stock and standard RNG coming into this game 1 with that Ornn in their pockets as well. So once again, it's all about the skirmish that they're going to be able to find, especially around that level 6. But I think this Ornn coming into this match, he's going to struggle a little bit, because when these ultimates gets used by Hacker, closing the lights, I'm not too sure if he's going to be able to find his hands onto the enemy carries.
Breathe getting the classic RNG treatment, right? He's full-on Longshing up in the top side. He's a tank. He's the weak side. He just has to try and survive, as FPX definitely could focus on that top side, but it's always a risky strategy focusing top side in this meta, especially against an Aphelios. Do you want to give him freedom in the laning phase? Do you want to let that Aphelios just stack up gold, stack up abilities here? LP certainly has the potential to carry if you allow him to do so. We're on Summoner's Rift here for our second series of the day. RNG going to be bringing it to the table here against FPX. And I feel like RNG probably the favorite, but there's not much in it. Based on the recent series, I feel like RNG probably more talent on the roster, but I mean, it's kind of hard to say. LWX, Care, both players that have been showing some pretty good stuff. We'll see how this one's going to go down. But I like these kind of matchups, Kitty. I like the matchups where there isn't just a clear outright winner that's easy to call.
Yeah, it's definitely really hard, especially with both these teams trying to stop that lose streak coming into the second half of week 3. We'll have to wait and see because I feel like the eyes are definitely on how FPX can utilize their level 6 spikes. We've seen Annie's, they have to look for flanks or play with vision, and I feel like that is a lot more harder to execute because you have to rely on the support gaining that vision control. And QuiQiu, in this matchup, we've seen the Nautilus vs Rakan from the previous series, where the Nautilus, after you land one hook with the Glacial vs Glacial, you're going to get easily poked out. So hopefully, FPX, having the Zion Rakan, they're going to be a little bit more careful with how they position themselves and look for those hard engages onto LP.
They'll try and find that target. Whether or not they can get onto him is a different question. LvMao not willing to challenge the middle brush just yet. We saw Mark and Xioalaohu playing much more aggressively than this in the early laning phase. So LvMao takes half of his HP. QuiQiu using that level 2 spike and the sustain from the Glimmer Quill does mean that him and LWX very comfortable to start that laning phase off. Let's talk pathing though, because both of our junglers headed towards that bottom side. With the Nocturne, you don't necessarily anticipate early ganks, usually waiting for that level 6, but Wukong certainly can try and get into the lanes.
Yeah, the Scuttle Crab in the next few seconds is going to definitely get contested. My biggest question is, with RNG's bottom lane getting pushed in so hard, their wave is going to eventually bounce back, so it's all about timing for specifically Wei. Honestly, I wouldn't be too mad if RNG tried to look for a hook on this wave and then look for a hook on this wave and then let Wei kind of lean towards that. But FPX, very smart, already putting that river ward down, so that is going to deny a bit of that potential of happening. So we'll have to wait and see.
Knock up onto LvMao here, and the feathers are there as well. Ignite down in his first blood. QuiQiu ticks it out with the Ignite, burns LvMao through, and FPX, the Phoenix is online.
2 beautiful W's landed by QuiQiu. However, we do see Wei's sneaky ward spotting out Hacker, and this Scuttle Crab is going to go uncontested. I believe Wei cloned over the wall, and he's going to look for a gank on mid.
There's a flash forwards for the champ from Tangyuan. Care has no way out of this one. And the first blood answered now in the mid lane, with the kill credit going over to Wei. So good response from RNG to find some presence on the map, and that will get them the top scuttle as well.
Wei's like, alright, you can have the Scuttle Crab, but I'm gonna get this kill onto Care. Really nice charm coming out of Tangyuan as well, where Care wasn't able to react to that. So RNG being pretty proactive. I don't like the fact that FPX was willing to give over this Ahri and Wukong, because the best way that RNG is tackled by the top tier teams is putting Tangyuan out of his comfort, and that's banning out of his champion pool, at least denying some of that champion pool where they aren't able to kind of play stock and standard. But for this game 1, it does seem like FPX, they're going to challenge this perspective.
Certainly are. Care taking a chunk there, but once you hit level 6 in that mid lane, Care will be a little more comfortable. Good discipline as well from Care, not using the flash, realized that he was just dead in that situation. It was too late to do anything after the flash charm. Let's take another look at the 2v2.
This is a very interesting resolution, but like I said, QuiQiu landing that 2 W's onto Luma, as he was just a little bit overextended on the Nautilus, and a very beautiful charm coming out of Tangyuan. So great stuff for the mid lane. I still feel like, yes, the first blood went into QuiQiu's hand. That's not too big of a deal, as RNG, they get that pocket or hand into Wei's pockets, and he's going to get that Sunder's online and start bullying Hacker around the map.
He certainly is. Hacker chasing Tangyuan out of the river for now, and he's in a 2v1. Tangyuan's got to be cautious. The spell shield. Oh no, the charm goes wide. Here comes Wei. The stun is there though. Tangyuan's already down, and now Wei's in trouble as well. Chased by the Nocturne, forced to flash by QuiQiu. And FPX, they've woken up this morning. They're here to play.
And double flash is committed by FPX and punishing Tangyuan for getting caught out of position. And I feel like this Zion Rakan is having the best laning phase that you would want out of this game 1. QuiQiu having so much freedom to roam up, and also burning the flash out of Wei as well. So definitely see a bit of pressure being put onto RNG's bottom side as they set up the first dragon.
Chocho's here, LWX trying to clear vision, but LvMao finds him with a hook. There's no summoners for this Xia. His LP moves in, but the feathers are enough. Chocho's there tanking, and Wei's the one to go down. It looked so good to start for RNG, but FPX, I mean, Hacker didn't even move off Drake.
And it's 3-1 at 6 minutes, and FPX, they're gonna take this dragon, where Chucho, he's popping off this game.
That's the tippers coming down onto LvMao as well. Hacker will finish the job as Care grabs the kill. This is beautiful from FPX and kind of disrespectful from RNG.
Has Chucho missed a Rakan W this game? I don't think so, but you see Tangyuan getting caught out of position, and we have flashes committed from both the mid and jungle onto Tangyuan, so that is just a bit of a disrespectful rotation coming out of the mid laner of RNG, specifically with your bottom lane being constantly pushed in. So RNG, they are showing a bit of weakness in this early game, but hopefully when it comes to those 5 late game team fights, you can work off Breathe on this Ornn.
Yeah, and so far so good for Breathe on the Ornn as well. Managing to stay just about even in CS, which is what you're hoping for in that scaling lane, right? As we can kind of recap where we're at in this game, because Chocho has been all over it, like you were saying, and the Rakan, very much a Chocho champion. When you think of Chocho, you think of Nautilus, you think of Rakan. These, and maybe a bit of Leona in there. But the hard engage is the comfort zone, and Chocho certainly has the mechanics to make that happen. Like you say, barely missing a grand entrance so far this game, and the one that he missed was, flashing away from it. So even still getting a sub of the spell, you're more than happy with that. Very impressive stuff from FPX and just dominating the early game. Now RNG very much on the back foot. They're 1,500 gold down.
Yeah, most definitely. They need to cut the bleeding. With the Rift Herald spawning now, Hacker is level 6, so it's going to be very tough trying to contest for vision. However, we do have Chucho having first move, slightly hovering towards this Rift Herald as well. I feel like FPX, they want to accelerate the game speed. They want RNG to really challenge these 5v5s, which is exactly what they've been doing. But you don't have the items online. Look at the items difference in the mid lane. We have Merc Treads available for this Ahri compared to a Lost Chapter.
Ooh, LWX trying for an all-in here. Has to use the heal himself as he misses the feathers. Hacker,
good spell shield.
I think that was the spell shield, yeah. Nicely done there. Just to keep himself safe. Wait and Breathe, trying to make a play before the Herald. And that's, I mean, Call of the Forge God on cooldown before Herald. That's kind of rough for RNG.
Yeah, usually I highlight how important this flash on Annie is, but if you take a look at FPX's team composition, they have so many go buttons. Xioalaohu having that ultimate available, and also QuiQiu being there as well. They're not afraid of challenging this, while RNG, they're going to struggle to find something on the other side of the map because LWX piloting the Xia for this game 1. It's going to be pretty hard forcing onto the Xia, but they're going to try.
It's going to be tough. LWX does have the Feather Storm available. Chocho moving down. 2v3. Can they survive? LWX, you've got to keep your eyes on him. Uses the Blade Caller already. TP going to be channeled. Does Featherstorm use to keep himself alive? LvMao tanks too much. No! 1 HP. Walks out somehow. The anchor to the wall will get him out to safety. Care wants a little bit more. No flash available on him. It's just a few seconds away. And it's enough time for Tangyuan to get out to safety with his Spirit Rush, with his flash. FPX forcing a lot and managing to survive the dive coming out from RNG. Very well played.
RNG should be lucky that no one died in that dive because it was a 2v4 as LWX, all he had to burn was that ultimate and it nearly traded a 1-for-1, and that is how hard it is trying to force something towards his bottom side when you are up against this Xia champion. But we have to talk about how RNG, they're getting a little bit desperate because of how the early game went, specifically for the bottom lane where they're trying to get extra gold into LP's pockets, but they're kind of going throughout this early game without challenging a single objective by the side of FPX.
Yeah, a tough one. Is that turret plate going to die to the caster minions? No! It survives!
It survives another day.
That second turret plate will still be there for LWX when he returns to lane. He just needs to push one wave in. He doesn't even need to hit it. Just needs to be close enough and that'll go his way. So far, so good for FPX. I can't believe they managed to survive that dive so cleanly. Honestly, it's not even the fact that they just survived cleanly. It's the fact that they almost got kills in return. They almost managed to chase RNG down. Now with a Herald in pocket for Hacker. Drake coming up in 25 seconds. LWX already finishing the Kraken Slayer as well. It's all feeling real good for FPX.
Yeah, FPX, they definitely have a very strong early game when it comes to their series, but it's all about how they can continue this trend towards the late game, specifically for LWX, because RNG, they have so many single target CC, so he has to not overstep, not having that cleanse available either. And we've seen a lot of Xayas maybe getting a bit too confident when it comes to these team fights and ulting forward, where that's definitely a huge mistake. So hopefully LWX, he does hold back just a little bit, because you need to play with care, you need to play with Hacker and how they help you in the side lanes.
See if they can, as Xioalaohu will spot the recall, gets a grasp proc, but doesn't quite cancel the recall. Breathe does manage to make it back to base. Has the teleport available, but shouldn't need it. The wave only just arriving in the top side, so he's going to walk that one out as FPX will grab himself second Drake. So every objective going their way so far, and the Herald still in pocket for Hacker. You can imagine that's probably going to go down into this bottom lane. LWX already with a pretty tremendous lead. And there we go. Herald dropped there, I believe, in the bottom side.
RNG struggling to make a response play as they are having absolutely no control in this river.
Hacker was just waiting off of vision, really hoping to get a paranoia play alongside that Tibbers. Doesn't quite find it in the end, as LWX really wants that fourth plate, but knows it's a bit risky to overforce that one, and Hacker returns to his jungle. As Wei potentially looking for a way into the enemy jungle. Won't find it though.
That pink ward has been alive for the past 7 minutes. I swear to God, Wei dropped it from that initial 4-man dive in the bottom side, and this pink ward has been getting its value because no one checks it ever. So obviously Hacker is going to get spotted, especially playing against this Nocturne champion. You have to be very careful with where you put your wards as the support, because they usually don't look for lanes because of the amount of distance that they're able to close with that ultimate spell. So we'll have to wait and see how LvMao does when it comes to that, but that is a great pink ward at the very end.
It is. We'll have to check later on if the observers are that way inclined, if it gets the ward award of longevity or whatever it is, distinguished ward of lasting a long time. I can't remember what it's called, but basically, if a ward lasts,
pink ward.
Yeah, I mean,
no one gets it.
Wards. Deep down, they're still pink wards. There is, if you click on control ward that's been there, I think it's 5 minutes, might be 10 minutes. They actually get a little buff, just congratulating them on surviving for so long. They start sparkling a little bit as well. So good to see wards getting a bit of acknowledgement.
Yeah, most definitely. And RNG securing, losing this bottom tier 1 tower is going to restrict how Tangyuan and Wei have the ability to skirmish around the map, which is exactly what you expect out of a Wukong and Ahri. After hitting level 6, you want to be comboing up and you want to look for picks onto Care in particular. Force a flash out of this Annie and put her out of the comfort zone, because this champion gets caught so easily considering the amount of CC that RNG have on their tables. But we haven't seen too much of a proactive play out of this team so far. But I feel like if you're just going to play really stock and standard, you have to cut the bleeding. As FPX, they're just slowly getting these dragons and potentially can force a soul early on in the game.
Ooh. RNG, though, they want to make something happen right here. Triple blast going, they're looking for Hacker. Wei, can he use his stealth? Steals away the Gromp, and Hacker flashes immediately. TP as well. In the top side is FPX. Now 5 strong. Force two TPs of their own. The Cyclone denies Chocho's entry into the play, but it's enough to find LvMao. Call of the Forge Gods turn it around. Hacker to go down, and LP is free firing. This could be the fight for RNG to turn the game around. Xioalaohu forced the flash. LWX though pulls the feathers, can't find the route. Wei goes in and the charm is there, but Featherstorm comes out to answer. Forced the flash and take it down anyway. Wei grabbing the kill as the knockup dodged by Chocho. It's carnage on the Rift, and RNG come out on top.
And call an ambulance, but for FPX, because RNG turned the fight through Breathe and fighting in that choke. The amount of CC that they were able to gain was absolute value. As you see, all the spells getting committed onto Hacker, where it was 1 flash for 2, but Care not having that stun available for the initial engage, and this Rakan desperately trying to get his hands onto the backline. They just made enough distance for LP with the red and white to have as much damage throughout this team fight. Playing front to back, I mean, this is what RNG was looking for exactly.
LWX very confidently stepping forwards there. The Featherstorm trying to save himself, but not enough. Taken down. A little overconfidence there as he gets caught by the Charmer Tangyuan with Featherstorm, with Flash available. LWX, an uncharacteristic mistake there on the Xia. And now, gold still in favor of FPX, but RNG finding themselves a fight, finding themselves a Herald, and potentially could find themselves this next Drake off the back of that. Breathe, trying to get priority in the bottom side to set up for his team. 20 seconds until that Drake spawns.
Now RNG, they do have the tempo and the vision control being set up by LvMao. No flashes available throughout the entire FPX roster, so it's going to be near impossible for them to challenge this. They potentially can look for a pick onto Tangyuan, but he has everything in his pocket, so it's going to be really hard trying to look for that response play. I feel like Care, if you just get that stun available and you use it onto Tangyuan, it can potentially force something out, but FPX, they're going to steer away from that and just try to get something back in this mid lane.
Breathe seems to be having some... Oh, no. Breathe slightly early on his charge there. Doesn't get the knock-up. The Herald, though, comes down in the mid lane. And that'll grab this tower. Chocho with a Hex Flash behind them, but I'm not sure he can really threaten anything here. Herald will be cleared up. Drake on the map. And now the fight for mid-priority begins. As Care is actually up in the top lane right now. He's going to recall, won't even threaten the tier 1. He wants the TP. There's a deep ward there. RNG looking for the Drake here. But can they get the fight afterwards? Care has the Tibbers but no flash. But no, doesn't go for deep TP. Goes for one in the bot tri-brush. Hacker looking for a smite. Call of the Forge God comes on in. And now everybody just grouped on up, but it's good enough. They're a death ball. And there's nothing FPX can do about it. They do get a Drake in the meantime as LP charges forward. Triple Gravitum there as LWX Featherstorm will not be enough. Taken down again. 3 kills for RNG. But it's in trade for a Dragon for FPX.
Look, take the mountain. RNG don't care that it's going to be mountain soul point for the side of FPX because they're looking to end this game early with how these teamfights have been playing out. Great target selection coming out of the squad, playing front to back and just deleting all flank angles from FPX. You see Xioalaohu trying to get his CC onto LP. The flash initially just denies all of that, and Care not choosing to go to the ward at the blue buff meant that he was in a bit of an awkward situation where he wasn't able to get any of his spells onto the important carries of this team fight, as we see Tangyuan popping off on the Ahri once again.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, when RNG all grouped up like that against the Annie, against everything else that FPX have, I was a little nervous for them, but there just wasn't any damage. There was no real follow-up, and Care just gets blown up instead. And suddenly FPX, after such a dominant early game, now 2,000 gold behind. Yes, they've got the 3 Drakes, but are you actually going to be able to contest another Drake is the question. Because RNG, it feels like, are well and truly in control. Look at Wei right now. 5-1 and 2. He's almost
good
on 2 items in 20 minutes as a jungler. That just never happens.
Yeah, and ideally for a champion like Nocturne, you want to be looking for those singular picks around the map where you can work off your solo laners or even QuiQiu being alongside you. But when you're closing the lights and you're expecting 5 people out of RNG, it's not the most ideal cases for the Nocturne to fly in, and that's exactly what RNG has been able to pull off for the past 2 team fights. And this Nocturne pick is really struggling to make its full use.
Certainly is. I'm looking towards Breathe as well because he's broached that 13 level. I was going to say that 13 level mark, which doesn't quite make sense. He's level 13, is what I'm trying to say. He's upgraded his own mythic. Start to do those to the rest of the team as
Hacker's in bottom.
just going to get this. The blue ward comes out. It's spotted, but they just have no way of actually contesting Hacker. Only just in paranoia range. This is going to go down. This is going to be smited. RNG just waltz in and take a free Baron for themselves. Can they escape with the fight? A knock-up from Breathe. They don't need to escape. They're fighting this one front to back. Look at the chakrams on LP right now. There's no way that you can fight this. The feathers are huge, though. And perhaps a turnaround for FPX. 1 for 1 here. 4v4 on the map as Tangyuan looks for more, but the charm wide. Chocho escaping with his life.
The TP from
coming on
Breed?
through. Breed rejoining the fight here as Wei steps forward to buy space for LP. Baron taking an RNG. Don't bat an eye at FPX's engage.
Huge misstep from Hacker, showing in that bottom side, and RNG just forcing the Baron in an instant with those chakrams available for LP. But now with the Baron available and in the hands of RNG, I'm not too sure how FPX is going to deal with that wave clear, but we'll take another look. LWX honestly put out a lot of orders, but Breed just wasn't dying. Man lived on 1 HP as well and gets that successful flash ultimate onto LWX as well. But LP on the Sephiroth, green and white, no one's touching him. And although it was a 1-for-1 trade, they still have 4 Baron buffs in their pockets, and they continuously look for engages because you don't have that Feather Storm, which is an extremely long cooldown for Xia.
I honestly have no idea how Breed got that fight. I was watching his health bar. He's on 1 HP for so very long, but manages to get his recall off. And unfortunately, I mean, the TP out from him perhaps was a little overkill, as that will now be on cooldown for a little while. Didn't manage to find too much off the back of it, but now with Baron, RNG, 3,000 gold up, looking to pressure in these side lanes, looking to get priority before this Drake. 40 seconds on that one. And honestly, at this point, if you're a Hacker, is it worth just bashing the ult off and trying to steal the Drake for Soul? Like, I feel
I think so.
You're not going to lose the game off a
so
Hacker dying, but the Soul could change everything.
The Soul could, but if you just look at the team fights, the difference is that we don't have, well, our FPX doesn't have enough damage to finish off Breed. Xioalaohu does go wide with the ultimate. I'm not too sure about that one, buddy.
No. Oh, that was rough. Take it down. Call of the Forge got across the team as Xioalaohu. I mean, what is there to say? What is there to say? Just taken out. Now RNG. They've still got 30 seconds of Baron. This tier 2 at minimum will be taken. They can guarantee themselves that amount, Drake, but they can just leave it up on the map, honestly. It's not a priority for them. They ain't getting sold this game. They're looking to end the game far before a soul comes on in, but could just grab the Drake on the way out before the recalls.
RNG, honestly, if Hacker wants to go for this, they can look for the fight and just force a numbers advantage and end through mid lane. But we'll have to wait and see what their approach is. You see the support and jungle walking towards this dragon. Hacker wants to steal this, I think.
Tangyuan a little early on the charm there, or maybe could have found a pick onto Chocho, but Drake secured. And rightly so. Care actually TP'd to the top side here. I think he'll be able to grab himself this tier 1, but no Breed. Charges into range, manages to defend the tower, so Care, bit of a waste on the TP there. I feel like we've seen a few over-eager teleports across the course of this game, to be honest. But FPX really struggling. And this is exactly what you said earlier, Kitty. Like, FPX, they come in really great early game, like 2v2 from LWX Chocho looking good, manages to survive the dive, like Care and Hacker working together. But then we get to the mid game, and RNG, they're just running rings around them.
Yeah, as long as Wei, with that Cyclone available, sits onto LP, I have no idea how QuiQiu is going to be able to get his hands onto this Aphelios, because if we throw it back to the early game, LvMao was the one struggling in that laning phase. I believe he was 0-3 at one point, but when it comes to these important team fights, having a champion like this Nautilus is just easy execution. All you have to do is press ultimate onto LWX, and that's pretty much his Featherstorm gone from the team fight, and that enables RNG to all in on the Xia as that sole damage carry. I feel like Care on this Annie, yes, you have the Shadow Flame, but it's not enough damage to deal with the front line of RNG so far. So they're getting a little bit desperate with their options. As Hacker, you don't want to be in that bottom side, buddy. RNG, they're going to force on your team soon.
Certainly are. 3 upgraded Mythics now for RNG as well. Breed getting some serious value out of the Ornn pick. 1 more level until the Call of the Forge God is that level 16 mark. And honestly, things looking fantastic for RNG. And it's good to see a decent, like, solid, consistent mid-game here. It feels like they have a game plan, they're sticking to it, they know exactly what they're trying to do. And, you know, when you manage to get the Aphelios for yourself, it's good that you're playing this slow, playing this steady, playing for those team fights where you can really... I mean, they have just a very clean front-to-back composition to work with. It's down to FPX to try and make something happen to disrupt that clean team fight, but if RNG play their cards right, there shouldn't be much FPX can do about it.
I mean, Breathe now level 50. He's going to catch Care off guard.
Oh, the knock-up actually lands as well. Moonlight Vigil leaves something to be desired, but it's not going to matter as LP does finish the kill off in the end. It's a pick for RNG. Just as Baron is about to spawn onto the map, Care will have TP when he respawns, but I don't know if that'll be enough. I think RNG might be able to just run straight at that Baron, or at very least, get complete and utter vision control of the area.
There is a sneaky ward in that dot bush for FPX to work of. It is going to get sweeped. Double pink wards coming out of RNG. LP sitting on the green and white as well. They're just going to look to rush this, but this is going to be a last hurrah from FPX if they want to stay in the game.
4v5, look at Tangyuan, Spirit Rush over the wall, wants to try and find LWX, not giving away his position just yet, but will finally do so just to grab Xioalaohu. Another pick for RNG. Can they find anything more? Solo lane is being picked off one by RNG. The recess there! Feather Storm from LWX. Good reactions on the Xia. Keeps himself alive, but that's a huge cooldown.
Feather Storm's gone. Hook lands.
No. It's a bouncy castle here, and you can't dodge that charm with no Feather Storm. LWX trying to protect his support, goes forward for the heal, but can't do it. And RNG find 2 more clean picks. That's going to be Baron. And honestly, Kitty, at this point, I feel like that might be game.
I mean, Wei and Tangyuan are having a fantastic game 1 so far. Although Tangyuan not having a kill so far at the 27-minute mark, man sitting on 10 assists, and he's landing a lot of charms onto LWS. We'll get another replay of how we have the Ari wrapping around towards the bottom side and forcing LWX to step back, and that just isolates Xioalaohu by himself, even having the flash. I feel like this Sion is really struggling in all of these team fights, because when you do play with the space and RNG having that green and white weapon in the hands of in LP, I mean, this Sion pick just looks like a bit of a goofball when it comes to straight up 5v5s because of how well they do the spacing. LvMao making up for his early game and landing the double CC onto the bottom lane as well. No vision whatsoever for FPX to work off, and that is becoming their biggest downfall when it comes to the late game.
Yeah, I kind of respect LWX a little bit there. Like, even though he just dies, like, Chocho's going in and he's like, you know what, buddy? Where's Zyrakan? I'm going in with you. Tries to make the 2v5 happen. Obviously can't make that 2v5 happen, but I respect the attempt. As now RNG with another Baron under their belt, and will be getting themselves a second Drake. Everything looking just peachy for them. And I will say FPX, you know, holding on for a fair amount of time considering how long RNG has been ahead for now. But with a scaling composition like this, RNG not exactly playing the fastest game of League of Legends themselves. They can slowly but surely bleed FPX out now. They've got all of the objectives on the map. They're pushing all 3 lanes now. You can see Breathe headed up top. You got your 1-3-1 fully in order. And they can slowly but surely try and choke FPX out of this game. And in fact, LP moves up to the top side to guarantee this tier 2.
And you also have the level 17 coming online for Breathe, upgrading those ornament items for both Wei and LP as they slowly work towards this base. But I feel like FPX, they're slowly running out of options. Force a numbers advantage with Care's Flash, which is going to be coming up very soon, because you can't be waiting any longer as Tangyuan. He's going to slowly get this mid-wave in as well and look for double inhibitors for the side of RNG.
And look to try and finish these inhibs off. Everybody grouping up on the top side for FPX. It looks like they want to try and force a fight, but I'm not even sure if they'll... LP, man.
It's okay. I didn't see anything.
There have been some dodgy Moonlight Vigils this game. Potentially a pick in the mid lane. It's on towards Care, but they get him. It's a kill for Care. Tangyuan goes down. And Hacker now, can they punish? Can they find a turnaround? RNG. LP actually being zoned away by Xioalaohu, but he's just getting shredded. Xioalaohu cannot zone the Aphelios. And it's RNG to turn the fight around. Even though it looked so good, the pick onto Tangyuan. LWX Featherstorms just to stop the chase. Him and Chocho left alone. They've gone for 1 2v4 this game. Will they go for another one? LP charging forwards. This will be game if they can't find that fight. LWX getting those feathers out. Pops the G8 away. There's the clone gone as well, but LP charging forwards now will finish the job. A hook from LvMao sets it all up. And that's going to be game. RNG a dominant mid-game leads to a reasonably clean victory.
Despite the early game circumstances going south for the side of RNG with a singular team fight by Wei and Breathe,